is a presentation of Fox Sports.
We are Blackmore. We are St. Louis.
Plenty of home runs last night, including 2 from the center fielders of these respective teams. Colby Rasmus. Chris Young, he went deep. As far as the right fielders, Lance Berkman with 3 in the first 2 games of this series. And Upton would take one 478 feet away. It sets up for the rubber game tonight in the Valley of the Sun. It's game number 3 between the St. Louis Cardinals and the Arizona Diamondbacks on Fox Sports Midwest. And along with my partner, Rick Horton, I'm Dan McLaughlin. Delighted to have you with us. And, Ricky, we saw injuries in the ballgame last night, and with injuries, you do get opportunity.
Yeah, the Cardinals lost more than a game yesterday, Dan. They lost 2 of their relievers, Talent and Augenstein, and that does mean opportunity for Fernando Salas and Eduardo Sanchez, both off to good starts in Memphis. We saw Salas some last year. I thought he did a pretty nice job in the Cardinal bullpen.
And Salas is a guy that can get lefties out. The Cardinals down to 1 lefty in their bullpen. When we come back, they opened up play here in Phoenix in 1998. A look at the Diamondbacks' history is next. Arizona tonight. They started Major League Baseball in 1998. How have they fared? Jim Hayes takes a look.
10 years ago, the Arizona Diamondbacks became a World Series winner faster than any expansion team in history. The Diamondbacks might have been a new team, but the 2001 World Series was won with veterans, as opposed to draft picks developed within the organization. The team was led by Randy Johnson and Curt Schilling, two established pitchers who finished 1-2 in the Cy Young voting and shared the World Series MVP. The lineup was experienced. All of the starters were over 30 years old, including seasoned veterans Steve Finley, Matt Williams, Jay Bell, and Mark Grace. Reggie Sanders had 33 home runs. Luis Gonzalez had 57. The average of a 2001 Diamondback was 30 years, 5 days, ninth oldest ever for a World Series winner. Fast forward to 2010, an inexperienced Arizona club featured a starting lineup with only one player over 30. Former Cy Young winner Brandon Webb is gone. Three-time All-Star Dan Herron is gone, and future All-Star Max Scherzer is also gone. New manager Kirk Gibson decided that he didn't have an experienced roster. He would put together an experienced and accomplished coaching staff to teach his young players. Gibson hired six-time All-Star and 1984 World Series MVP Alan Trammell as his bench coach. He hired 1979 AL MVP and 1995 NL Manager of the Year Don Baylor as his hitting coach. He hired three-time All-Star Charles Nagy as his pitching coach. Former All-Star Eric Young will coach first base, and five-time All-Star Matt Williams will coach at third. Kirk Gibson means business, and his selection of coaches makes it clear that he expects his young team to play like veteran All-Stars, like the World Series champs of 10 years ago.
Night for baseball in the Valley of the Sun. Can the Cardinals win a series, their first of this season? Jake Westbrook gets the call. Baseball is next. Rick Horton, I'm Dan McLaughlin, and welcome to Chase Field in Arizona. The former Yankee Ian Kennedy, a right-hander, getting the start for the D-backs.
9 strikeouts in his last outing, which was the home opener. Off to a very good start. One of the best pitchers in the game since September 1 of last year. ERA under 2.
Ryan Theriot leads it off for the Redbirds. Good night last night. There weren't many that didn't have a good night at the plate. It was a slugfest. And that pitch is a strike. The roof is open. The paneling beyond the left and right field walls is open as well. And our game time temperature is 80 degrees. Theriot hitting 286 with 4 driven in. And a line drive into right field. Sliding catch made by Justin Upton. Tony La Russa with a change in his lineup at the catcher's spot. It's Theriot, Rasmus, and Pujols here in the first, followed by Holiday, Berkman, and Freese. Schumacher, Gerald Laird, and Jake Westbrook. Laird still looking for his first hit as a Cardinal. Here's Rasmus, who homered last night. Now with 2 home runs and 3 driven in on the year. Trying to bunt his way on. It's a beauty. Flying down the line and a base hit. Base hit for Colby Rasmus. Well, you like to see that from your second place hitter.
Well, I think Colby's been thinking about that since game 1 of this series. He was eyeing the third baseman, and he finally had a chance to lay one down. Here is the defense behind Kennedy for the Diamondbacks.
Parra, Young, and Upton in the outfield. Mora, Drew, Johnson, and Branyan along the infield. This is presented by Dobbs. Ian Kennedy and Miguel Montero. Ricky's favorite is behind the plate.
I don't want to call him my favorite. I'd say he's the guy I'm afraid of. I don't know if that makes him my favorite. He's second in the league in hitting. And if you're wondering how he's done at the catching department, only 3 guys have attempted to steal off of Montero, and he's thrown out 1 of them.
Here is Albert Pujols. Pujols can look up at the scoreboard at the beginning of this ball game tonight, and now he's at 200. 45 at bats so far this year. He has 9 hits, 1 home run, and he's driven in 4 this season.
Could be a big opportunity for him today to build on what he did yesterday. The 3 hits here. I'm not sure he's 100% back to where he wants to be, but you can really build on what he did yesterday and start to get that confidence back.
We'll check on Rasmus.
You wouldn't think of somebody like Albert needing confidence, but every player wants to feel like they're right, feel as if they're ready to produce and on time, and certainly Albert has not been there in the early going.
Outfield is straight away and very deep for Pujols. And he rips it down the left field line. Extra bases. Off the wall and into the seats, and the Diamondbacks catch a break as Rasmus has to stop at third.
Like to see that from Albert Pujols. That ball was hit hard, Dan. Maybe out in front of it a little bit, but hands back enough, and he lines this ball down the left field line. Great to see that. And I think you're right. I think he lost an RBI when that ball bounced into the stands.
Matt Holliday on this road trip is 3 for 12, but he had 3 strikeouts last night. 2 for 9 in this series. Cardinals can strike first here. Runners at second and third, and only 1 down. Ian Kennedy was drafted by the Yankees first round, 21st overall out of USC. And at one point he was drafted by the Cardinals, 14th round out of high school, and obviously did not sign. There have been some great pitchers that have come out of USC.
Kennedy started both their road opener and their home opener, and he's done very well so far this year. The Cardinals haven't seen him yet. The only players with any experience against him, Theriot, who lined out to right, 3 for 7 in his career, and Berkman 0 for 3. Other than that, brand new to the Cardinal hitters.
The pitch to hit here for Matt Holliday. We're about to find out as time is called. The count is 2 balls and no strikes. Think about this. Randy Johnson, Mark Pryor, Tom Seaver, Barry Zito. The list of pitchers drafted out of USC, and Ian Kennedy. The 2-0. Lance Berkman, who's arguably swinging the hottest bat in this lineup, is on deck. The question would be, when this offense struggles and it has struggled this year at times, especially early on. Holiday, do you turn him loose here on 3-0?
Well, you hope the struggles are behind him. I'd like to see him be turned loose on 3-0 because I trust him. I think that's really the question. You think that he's smart enough to swing at the right pitch, then let him go.
The 3-0. Way outside, bases loaded. Well, the Cardinals, midway in the game last night, back-to-back innings, had the bases loaded and did not do much. Rasmus is at third. He singled with a bunt. Pujols the double down the left field line. The walk to Holiday, and here's Berkman with 3 home runs in this series already. "37 games he's played at this ballpark, and hitting .301 with 12 home runs for Lance Berkman. First pitch to him. Gets away to the backstop. And Rasmus will score the first run of the ball game. So wild pitch, and Rasmus makes it 1-0.
Pretty good attempt by Montero. There's no way he could stop that breaking ball. Colby Rasmus scores the first Cardinal run. And I'm with you, Dan. I love what he did. Dropping down that bunt in the second spot. He can hit with power. He's shown the ability to get on base via the walk. You add the bunt capability, and now you've got a complete player as your center fielder in that 2 spot.
Playing every day against righties and lefties.
Speaking of playing every day, Lance Berkman has only had 1 day off.
David Freese is in this lineup tonight. That's good to see, too. Well, Tony's saying before the game that Molina needs a mental break. He's hitting around 150, so he has a seat tonight, but yet your third baseman that they'd like to give some off days, especially early on, is in there tonight, and that's the importance of this game.
And hard to give Berkman and Freese off days when Holiday was out of the lineup. You wanted them in every day.
1-1 pitch. Berkman ground ball to second. That'll score a run. Pujols makes it 2-0 on the RBI. Berkman picks up his 7th of the year. Pujols scores the run to zip St. Louis here in the top of the first. David Freese with 2 outs. He hit a long home run over the 413 sign in left center field last night. And David looks at a strike.
He looks so comfortable at the plate right now, and he looked so uncomfortable just 3 or 4 days ago. He's made quite an adjustment, and not sure whether he did that on his own, whether Mark McGuire, Mike Aldretti helped him out with something, saw something in his balance.
Fisted to short. Stephen Drew settles and throws and makes the play. Cardinals strand a runner. They score on a wild pitch by Kennedy and an RBI by Berkman. Westbrook to the mound when we come back. And Jake Westbrook, who is a quick worker, fires a strike in there. And we're underway here in the bottom of the first.
Not the greatest start for Jake Westbrook. The 9 walks is what really stands out. He's a control pitcher. 9 in just 2 games is way too many.
Is he rushing? What do you see with him?
Well, you know, the working quickly thing is something that can actually work against you, too. If you're not pinpoint with your control, you may need to step back and think about it a bit. And I don't know whether it's release point for him or rushing a bit. I just don't expect him to stay in that funk very long. He's just always been a control pitcher. Looks for ground balls. That's his bread and butter. Sinkers down in the zone.
That pitch up and outside. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Armando Galarraga made the start for the Diamondbacks last night. And we talked about the fact that Westbrook was on the scene to see that near perfect game in history being made and went over to Galarraga before the series began. Found him to tell him that he thought he handled his situation with tremendous class. The 3-2 pitch. Leadoff walk. So Johnson is aboard. He has 2 steals on the young season. Johnson, Drew, Upton here in the first. Branyan, Young, Montero, then Mora, Parra, and Ian Kennedy. Stephen Drew moves up from the 4th spot to the 2nd spot in this lineup. So Westbrook, following up your point about walks with the Cardinals, the starts, and you see what he did 4 or more this season already. Twice he's done that. Yeah, just twice last season, twice already this season. And again, still seeing a little bit of that rushing towards the plate. And again, pacing really matters. He knows his mechanics better than anybody else, but there are times, just as in a golf swing or in anything you do athletically, you just need to maybe check your pace a bit, and it looks like he's jerking a little bit towards home instead of being a little smoother. 1-1 the count on the young man they call Dirt. We saw him at the old Busch Stadium all the time with his brother JD. Stephen Drew, 2 balls and 1 strike. Some of these pitches right now, he's not missing by much, is he?
Some he's not, some he is.
He thought he had a called 3rd strike on the leadoff man Johnson. Home plate umpires Hunter Wendelstedt. The 2-1 pitch. Laced the other way. On the move. Holiday makes the catch on the run. Had him positioned perfectly. Brings in Upton, and a look at the Cardinal defense presented by Dobbs. Holiday, Rasmussen, Berkman. Freeze, Terrio on the left side of the infield. Schumacher and Pujols on the right side. Westbrook and Laird, the battery tonight.
I'm not going to say that Matt Holliday is Willie Mays, but I really like the routes he takes to most balls hit in left field. That was a direct line to that ball. There's some experience in that, but there's also some ability taking the direct route, and he rarely makes a mistake on that. That could have been a double very easily.
Upton looks at a strike. Well, last night we saw Kirk Gibson get after it with the 3rd base umpire who was behind the plate. That was Bach and Bob Davidson. And if you're going to argue, might as well get your money's worth, and Kirk Gibson did that.
They both got their money's worth.
Good point.
And they're not that far away from each other right now. You think they maybe have him be the 1st base umpire.
How much does that carry over from last night to tonight?
It can. I mean, I've seen times where a manager or even a player was thrown out while the team was warming up for the next day. And certainly we've seen it when managers have come out to bring out the lineup card. I noticed today that he did not go bring the lineup card out. Actually, Tony La Russa had Dave McKay do it. And I believe it was Don Baylor brought the lineup card out for Arizona.
And Upton chased a pitch. Strikes out on 3 pitches, and it brings in Russell Branyan.
First baseman, number 33, Russell Branyan.
Runs per game, ballpark leaders, and Chase Field No humidor, you don't have to worry about that, but look at that, 14 plus.
Well, as we mentioned yesterday, Mark Gray said, you know, it used to be considered a pitcher's ballpark when Randy Johnson was here, and they had just the great staff, Kurt Schilling from top to bottom, and now they think it's a hitter's ballpark, and really the dimensions haven't changed. I think a little bit of it is how you've built your team. This Arizona team is second in the National League in batting, and I don't think the ballpark has anything to do with that. So I would say that this is a fair ballpark to me.
Branyan, a couple of base hits in this series. And a ground ball backhanded by Pujols. He'll take it himself. Steps on the bag. And the first inning in the books. Schumacher leads it off when we come back. First, and they lead it 2-0. First plate appearance for the second baseman Skip Schumacher, who's hitting .275, no home runs and 4 RBIs. And that pitch is taken low and outside. Schumacher here, followed by Laird, and then the pitcher Jake Westbrook. 2 balls and no strikes. Ian Kennedy came to the Diamondbacks in a 3-way trade with Detroit and New York. Detroit received Max Scherzer. Mizzou product, St. Louis kid. Also outfielder Austin Jackson. Curtis Granderson was in that deal from the Tigers. Inside, and the count is full.
Don't want to overemphasize this game. You hate to say it's a big game when it's early on, but I think the Cardinals can really set the tone for this road trip, Dan, with a win here. You mentioned in the open they haven't won a series yet. Win a series, maybe carry that into L.A. Really, if you play .500 on this road trip, that's a decent road trip.
Was not a good homestand to start the year.
Was not.
The 3-2 pitch. Fought off by Skip.
And it wasn't a good start to the road trip, dropping the first 2 in San Francisco, but the Redbirds have really seemed to find their offense since then.
Josh Johnson of the Marlins took a no-hitter into the 8th. That was broken up. Florida beat Atlanta tonight 5-1. And Cincinnati loses against San Diego.
San Diego had a run in the 7th, 8th, and 9th to come back after being down 2-0. Orlando Hudson with the game winner in the 9th.
3-2 pitch. Schumacher shoots it foul. May have chased ball 4 on that pitch. Liner that's caught by Branyan. Baseball tonight on your home of the Cardinals. Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by Smooth Bush Beer and easy drinking Busch Light. By Chevy. See your Mid-America Chevy dealers. by Southwest Airlines new Rapid Rewards. Unlimited reward seats and no blackout dates. By Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers, #1 in quality tires and expert auto service. And by Steak and Shake. Life needs flavor. Laird, little bouncer to the left side. Drew deep in the hole. Long throw. Safe. And Laird has his first base hit as a Cardinal. I'm sure he would be the first to tell you it was his blazing speed that picked up that base hit.
Maximum effort, that's for sure, getting down the line. And a hitter could tell on a ball like that there's a chance maybe if I get a good jump out of the box, I might be able to beat this out. That's a long throw by Drew. And now a bunting situation.
The Cardinals, one of the things that they wanted to do this offseason was to change some of the personality of this club. Two guys that come to mind immediately, Lance Berkman and the young man at first base, Gerald Laird.
Personality of last year's team, very difficult to explain unless you're around them. And I don't want to, maybe dry, maybe dull. There really wasn't a lot of fun, I wouldn't say. I mean, they just didn't have the right mix of that. And there was nothing bad about the guys. That wasn't that. But I think we've seen a lot more smiling in the Cardinals dugout than we saw all of last season combined already just in the first week. And the team's not even playing that well.
Well, last night, real tough game for Tony La Russa and the Cardinals. As I mentioned before, is a slugfest, and we saw initially that Chris Carpenter just was not sharp.
He was not. Something off with his mechanics. As Cal Eldred was talking in the pregame show, perhaps flying out a bit. He just did not look sharp, particularly with his off-speed stuff. And you don't see that very often out of Chris Carpenter. Usually he can figure it out. Part of being a pitcher at this level. You're struggling, make the adjustment quickly before it's too late.
0-1 pitch to Westbrook as he squares again. Takes a strike on the outside corner. 2 strikes now. Nothing in 2 the count on the Cardinal pitcher Westbrook. Does not do the job. Westbrook, of course, has spent the better part of his career over the American League and not used to doing that, but no excuse. You have to get that down. Strikeout for Kennedy, and that's his first. Our Toyota keys to the game.
Well, we look at the Cardinals at-bats per home run. Cardinals just seem to find power here, and that does not even include Lance Berkman and what he's done in this ballpark.
Back to the top of the lineup.
It's funny how you can just hit in some ballparks and not others. I mean, the Cardinals haven't necessarily been a power team over the last few years.
But they've also have not had a team full of speed either. A lot of station to station. Would you agree?
No question about that. And you need to be one or the other, or a combination of both at least, to where you're decent both ways.
Terrio lined out to right first time up on a sliding catch by Justin Upton. And he is hit by the pitch. Greg Hawk, who is the lead trainer for the Cardinals, out to take a look.
He's been busy the last couple of days.
Yes, he has.
2 injuries yesterday to the Cardinals, and I'm sure there's not going to be an issue about whether or not Terrio can stay in this game or not, but that hurts. And it'll certainly affect, and we'll have to watch, does it affect his ability to play defensively.
So he's hit by the pitch, another runner in scoring position. Conversely, last night, this is when the Diamondbacks just killed the Cardinals. D-backs went 5 for 11. 2 home runs, 10 RBIs last night with runners in scoring position.
Yeah, and whether you're a power team or a running team, if you can hit with runners in scoring position, you'll win.
First and second, here's Rasmus. Bunted his way on. First time up. Albert Pujols on deck.
I did notice Colby, game 1 of this series, he kept looking in his first plate appearance, he kept looking down the third base like, should I lay down a bunt? and he found the right time to do it.
Chase Field will host the All-Star game this year. See one of their newer additions the last couple of years, that big scoreboard in center field, high definition television. Colby holds up.
Don't you have one that size at your house, Dan?
I do not, but I have done a football game, Cowboy Stadium, and I definitely saw the biggest I've ever seen. Jerry Jones.
Twice as big as that or more?
At least. It was unbelievable. Here's a 1-1 pitch. Looks at a strike. With Pujols starting to heat up a little bit too, you wonder what kind of pitches the second place hitter will get in this lineup.
You'd expect him to see more strikes and more fastballs, and that was both. A fastball for a strike, down and in. Pretty good spot for Colby to pull the trigger, and I just think he thought that ball might be running inside, so he took it.
On 1-2, he smacks it down the right field line. Fair ball. All the way to the wall. 1 run is in. They'll wave Ontario. Relay headed towards third and cut off. And Colby Rasmus is 2 for 2 and comes up with a 2-out RBI double that scores 2. Just waited on that breaking ball and turned on it and picks up 2 RBIs.
Another good at bat for Rasmus. This time he hits the breaking ball down and in. Cardinals have been striking early.
Oh, yeah.
2 runs in the first, 2 runs in the second. Colby Rasmus, maybe he'll do what John Mabry did once. The natural cycle.
Did that in Colorado back in 1996, I believe.
Halfway there.
Here's Pujols. And Kennedy in the first at bat tried to go inside on Pujols, and we have seen that a bunch this year. A lot of pitchers are going inside on Albert. 1 ball, no strikes. Outfield straight away and deep. Pujols doubled first time up.
It used to happen, Dan, where the book would get out on how to pitch somebody, and you'd get on the tom-toms, and you'd tell somebody, and you'd call your buddy, and they'd call their buddy, and the next thing you know, everybody's pitching a guy that way. He gets out of his slump, all of a sudden he can hit that pitch, and nobody remembers to call and tell you. And that doesn't happen as much now with the real-time video. But there was a time where you would be pitching to where a guy was hot because you're going on old news.
You and I were talking today about how Whitey would hold a meeting. We always hear about meetings with the Cardinals and specialized defense, hitting, pitching. A total of 20 minutes for Whitey, right?
Oh, 20 minutes and he was done. Did not like long meetings at all.
The 2-0. Second player in Major League history to hit 300 home runs. First 8 seasons. Ralph Kiner was the first, and now Pujols over 400 in his illustrious career. They'll turn him loose on 3-0. They did it last night. Every pitch has been inside to Albert. And he takes a ball. So Kennedy has walked 2 in this ball game. He's hit a man, and he's asking for trouble because here's Holiday.
He's essentially the ace of this team. He started opening day for them, and he's having a day so far like Chris Carpenter, the Cardinal ace, had yesterday. Sometimes you just don't get it done. And Cardinals, again, have not seen Kennedy, so all of this is new to them, but what they've seen so far, they seem to like.
Our final visit, unless we would see Arizona in postseason play here at Chase Field. These 2 teams will play 7 games against each other this year. Arizona comes to St. Louis for 4, July 7th through the 10th, prior to the All-Star break. Last year, the Redbirds won the season series, 5-4 in 9 games. 2 outs, 2 on, and a 4-0 Cardinal lead. Strike 1 on Holiday. Chase Field surrendered a National League high 201 home runs last year, including 9 by the Redbirds. way in front of the plate and blocked by Montero. 1 ball, 1 strike. And Kennedy certainly struggling, as you mentioned, just like Carpenter was, getting a feel for the baseball, looks like.
Yeah, we've seen some pitches, Dan, in this series that have missed by wide margins. That off-speed pitch there bounced about 1.5 feet, at maybe more than that, in front of home plate. You just don't see that very often. We've seen a lot of pitches like that in this series.
Count is even. 1 ball, 1 strike. Cardinals looking to do more with 2 outs. Outfield is deep for Holiday. Stephen Drew is way away from the bag at second base, so Rasmus can get a pretty big lead. One ball, 1 strike. Time is called. Kennedy cannot get on the same page, it looks like, with Montero, and that's another facet to a guy just not feeling comfortable.
Yeah, he's working slow here, but in that case, I think Montero took a long time to get some signs from the bench.
High chopper, foul ball.
I mean, that's part of the understanding, too, is the manager's letting the catcher know whether he wants a pickoff move or a pitch out or a throw over. And so when the catcher looks over to the dugout, a lot of people misunderstand that. They think that the manager's giving the sign like you would in Little League. I mean, he's not telling them what pitch to throw. There's no managers that do that. But he's saying, I want you to either step off, throw over. And it comes from either the bench coach, in this case Alan Trammell, or the manager, Kirk Gibson.
Well, last night, Galarraga could not get on the same page with Montero.
No doubt.
It's Alan Trammell there on the right.
And there's the signs. There's Montero. He's going through some different signs with the infielders as well.
And Holiday is hit. Oh, goodness. Kennedy is hit 2 now in this inning. Hit Terrio, and now he hits Holiday.
This is the kind of thing that drives Tony La Russa crazy. I would not be surprised if he doesn't have something to say to the pitcher as he goes out to check on his slugger. He just does not like his players getting hit, even if it's accidental, which there's no question. In this case, that's what it was. Tony's glaring right now out at Kennedy, and he has some words to say with the home plate umpire. He is not happy.
Checking on that left wrist or hand of Matt Holiday. The Fox Exmo brought to you by the Plaza Tire Service. Where did it catch him?
Looks like the left hand, back of the hand.
Ricky, we've talked about it. The Cardinals could ill afford to lose the big bats of either Holiday or Pujols. We've seen what has happened with this offense if one or both could be missing, and that's the risk that you run. There's little margin for error this year.
When you're the Texas Rangers and you lose Josh Hamilton, which is what happened yesterday, he slid into home plate and broke a bone in his wrist or arm or somewhere and is going to be out for a number of weeks, 6 to 8 weeks. But you've got a potent lineup from top to bottom, and you've got a great pitching staff, and yeah, he's a big piece of that, but you can deal with that. If you're the Cardinals, you just really don't have that kind of offensive pop that you can afford to have a guy like that out of the middle of your lineup.
And here's Berkman. Picked up an RBI, first time up. Now with 7 on the year.
I find the reporting, by the way, on the Hamilton injury to be almost comical. That he is being criticized, and then the third base coach is being criticized for sending him because he might get hurt on a play that was bang bang at the plate. Had they not sent him, they would be saying, what kind of star player is this who's not hustling and not playing? I mean, you can't win.
Bases loaded here. Cardinals have picked up 2 runs on a 2-out double by Colby Rasmus. Berkman in the hole with the bases loaded, 0-2 the count. The next to the Cardinal right fielder. Here it comes. And the play that we're talking about, Josh Hamilton, a runner at third, a pop-up, which in this case would be near the Diamondbacks dugout, third base side, and he tagged up with nobody at the plate. Good stop by Montero. Evens up the count at 2-2. So it was a race to the plate and kind of get back, and he slid head first, and that's when he broke his arm.
But a harmless head first slide. I mean, players have been doing that for hundreds of years, and they don't break their arm every time they do it. It just, I mean, it was a bad break, and I, for one, like to see my all-stars hustling.
2-2 pitch to Berkman. And I think where fans get frustrated, or media, or whatever the case may be, is that after the incident took place at the plate, it was Hamilton who said, I didn't really want to go, and my third base coach told me to go, and I didn't think it was a very smart play.
And that was the bad move. Dave Anderson is who he essentially threw under the bus.
Not essentially, he did.
Yeah. And then there's nothing right about that.
No. 3-2, runners go. Berkman slices one out of play.
I'd be interested to see what would happen if no, I wouldn't actually. If a Cardinal player threw Jose Oquendo under the bus, what the manager's reaction might be to that.
Off again on 3-2. Berkman, opposite way, to the track, to the wall, grand slam! Opposite field home run, Berkman, his fourth of the series. 8-0 Cardinals. Grand slam for Berkman.
Berkman has shown outstanding power the other way in this series. He pulled one of his homers. 3 of them have been the other way. All of them have been left-handed. That pitch down and away, not a bad location, but not a good result for Kennedy. The reaction.
Eight to nothing here in the second inning. Strike to freeze. Big Puma, my goodness. 10 RBIs now.
The point I was making earlier about Big Puma, I think when he was signed by the Cardinals, we thought, well, maybe we'll see him in 120 games. And, you know, he's an older player. He didn't play much last year. He's not really a 150-game guy anymore. But he's only sat out 1 game. Seems to be getting stronger and stronger.
Defense has not been an issue at all.
Really hasn't. I mean, again, he's not Andre Dawson in right field, but
not many are.
Not many are.
Slowly hit to second base. Albert Pujols, how about his reaction to the grand slam? .com, your home for exclusive Cardinals coverage. Plus, follow us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest Cards updates. That's FoxSportsMidwest.com. If anybody needed a lead like this, and Berkman, first grand slam for the Cardinals in September of 2010. If anybody needed this kind of lead, it's probably the guy on the mound right now, just to get a potential win under his belt and go to work here with a comfortable 8-0 lead.
Yeah, you can be comfortable, but he can't stop focusing and he can't stop concentrating on what his job is, because there are times where you get a big lead, and yes, you would prefer it, and any pitcher would be lying if they said they didn't. But you still have to focus on making pitches and getting out. But it takes away bunting and hit and runs and steals. The other team is less likely to do all those things. So make good pitches, throw up a few zeros, and let the game settle into a big lead for the Cardinals.
As we were in our break, the home plate umpire, Hunter Wendelstedt, walked all the way out to the top of the mound. He was at the rubber right before Westbrook began warming up and handed the ball to him. Those two had a conversation. And if you're just joining us, top of this inning, Terrio and Holiday hit by pitches, and I'm sure that's what that conversation was all about.
Yeah, not an official warning, because we didn't see that from Wendelstedt. Usually they make an announcement and say that the benches have been warned, and actually that probably, if that was going to happen, it would have happened when Holiday got hit. But I'm sure he was at least making a suggestion to him not to do anything stupid.
1 ball, 1 strike on Montero.
Now, defining what doing something stupid is what many a baseball fight has erupted over the years. It's in the eye of the beholder.
Montero is hitting .455, pair of home runs, and he's driven in 4. Two. Foul ball. We'll do it again. It's off to L.A. after the ball game tonight. Jaime Garcia against Hiroki Kuroda. Kuroda off to a fabulous start. He has nasty stuff. 2-0 and a 1.72 ERA. But how about the start now for Garcia?
Garcia's been better. He's second in the National League in earned run average. Some good matchups. Loesch and Garland in Game 2. McClellan and Clayton Kershaw in Game 3. And then Billingsley Carpenter on Sunday.
Running catch by Colby Rasmus. Not sure he got the best jump on it, but it doesn't matter. He makes the catch, and there's 2 away.
Ball hit pretty well. Not a great jump, but a good route for Rasmus. We've seen 3 or 4 plays that Rasmus has had where he's been unsure whether or not he wants to leave his feet or catch the ball or stop or get there first. I mean, it just seems a little tentative as he's approaching balls in center field. And of course, the one we remember the most is the one he dropped against the San Francisco Giants.
2 runs came around to score on that ball game Saturday night. Cost the Cardinals a win. Melvin Mora hitting .238. No home runs, and he's driven in 4 at third base tonight. 2 outs and nobody on.
And having said that, let him work it out. Want him in center field every day.
Terrio can take his time and makes the play. A 1-2-3 inning for Westbrook. The Cardinals have put up 8 in the first 2 innings. Back to live action, and the first pitch is hit in the air to left field, and Parra puts it away. One pitch, one out here in the top of the third. And Schumacher is 0 for 2. Brings in Gerald Laird, and the third inning, as always, brings in our very own Jim Hayes. And Jim, I know you spoke to Gerald Laird, who's now, without question, a backup. Primarily has been a starter in his career. He's really trying to keep himself in great shape to be ready at any time.
Well, he's a guy that fit right in with this ball club upon his arrival at spring training. I think you called him a likable guy, Rick, and he's that and more. And one of the things he's doing, just like Jason LaRue did last year and in previous years, working out with strength and conditioning coach Pete Prinzi. And Laird says doing that, he's in better shape than when he was a starter. And as a side bonus, you get to bond with the pitchers that are going through it also.
Chris Carpenter and Jason LaRue last year, we'd get to the ballpark around 1 o'clock at times on the road, and those guys would already be going through workouts and specific training for both catching and pitching. As Laird flares one down the right field line, slicing, and that's a fair ball. Laird is 2 for 2 with an infield hit and a blue double, and he'll take it. His first 2 hits of the year. Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by the Stadium Sports Bar, opening soon at Lumiere Place Casino and Hotels, the Pulse of St. Louis, and by Kia Motors. Another gorgeous night here in the Valley of the Sun, Phoenix, Arizona. Here's Jake Westbrook. Struck out his first time up, trying to sacrifice. People wonder about the side work, Ricky, that you get in, and things have changed a little bit too. You know, for you as being a starter reliever, a lot of running, and these guys are doing that too, but there's more specific training for pitchers, catchers, infielders, and outfielders.
Weight training, there's
Yes.
a lot of that. There's a lot of what players call dry work, where you're not really throwing with a baseball, but you're going through your mechanics just to make sure you're doing repetitive motions that you'll repeat once you get on the mound. And I think what Jim's saying is absolutely right. The more the catcher can bond with you, the backup catcher can bond with you in those situations, the more like you feel like somebody's got your back that can help you when you get on the mound.
Foul tip held on to 1-2.
After a start, do you remember doing a lot of leg work, a lot of running the day after a start?
The day after, right.
That's what these guys are doing today. Carp is running stairs inside the ballpark here.
We'd run distance, run 2 or 3 miles, something the day after you threw, and then the day after that you would throw your bullpen. Garcia had his yesterday, and what you're doing there is throwing for 10 to 15 minutes. You're breaking off a few sliders and curveballs and getting the feel, but your arm really doesn't feel that good, frankly, on that day. I mean, you really don't want to air it out. You're just trying to go through the mechanics and get a sweat back.
Westbrook, a liner into left. That'll roll to the wall. Laird can walk on home. 9-0. Back-to-back doubles. Gerald Laird and Jake Westbrook.
He's a 250 hitter coming into the game, Dan. You don't have to say it like that.
Well, first 9 games, 27 runs, 4 home runs, last 3, 25 runs, and 7 long balls. So Westbrook picks up his first RBI. 9-0 St. Louis. They start to throw now in the Arizona Diamondbacks bullpen. Terrio's been hit by a pitch and had a hit taken away on a nice catch in right field.
And it isn't just the long ball, it's the extra base hit in general. The Cardinals with 5 extra base hits today. A lot of singles in games 1 through 6.
Off speed pitch out in front, 0-2. Redbirds with 7 hits tonight, 9 runs. Terrio slowly hit to third. Low throw and out at first. And it brings in Colby Rasmus, who has reached on a bunt hit back in the first, came around to score on a double by Albert Pujols. And also doubled in the second.
Dan mentioned the natural cycle. Just to explain that further, John Mabry did do that once as a Cardinal, where he had a single, then a double, then a triple, then a home run in order. Not that he had those 4 during the game, but he got them in order. Very, very rare.
And Rasmus hits a fly ball out to left. Parra makes the catch. And Jake Westbrook adds to the lead with an RBI double. 9-0 midway through 3. Go to carsoup.com/Cardinals and send us your email the booth questions. Along with Rick Horton, I'm Dan McLaughlin. Jim Hayes with us as well. And you can host your next party at the ballpark and leave the entertaining to us. Party suites include a fully catered, all-inclusive menu plus a great view of the game. Party suites are great for groups of 30 or more. Book yours today at Cardinals.com. We come home. First 2 games against Washington, $5 seats are available at the terrace level. $7 or $17 field box seats are available as well, part of dynamic pricing. Just log on to Cardinals.com to take a look at the dynamic prices throughout the year. So Lance Berkman with a grand slam opposite field, and this is Parra, who's hitting .292, getting a start in left. And he has had an incredible series, 3 games now and 4 home runs. And Jim, he likes it at this ballpark, and he also was telling both of us he likes it in St. Louis.
Yeah, he very, very comfortable being a member of the Cardinals. This is a place he wanted to play. He targeted. He said early on if he wasn't hitting, he never puts much stock in early season games or getting caught up in the numbers.
Tough play here for Theriot. No play. Infield hit.
But he said he knew how he felt in terms of his health and his strength. You know, he got in really, really good shape for spring training. And he said he felt like his offense was starting to come around, so he wasn't worried about it. He also said offensively the Cardinals are a really good offensive club, and they're starting to show it now.
Ricky, how would you describe the swing that he hits to the opposite field? Because it just seems like it's just fluid and easy, and it's hitting behind the ball, and all of a sudden you look up and it's over the wall.
It's very smooth. He must just have tremendous strength in his wrists and in his forearms to be able to generate that kind of power the other way. Not a violent swing at all. And you know, if you're going to hit with power the other way, not only do you need some strength, you know, you need a little bat speed too, but it doesn't look like a violent bat speed. It's just very smooth and just a great stroke. And you know, he's always had a great stroke. You watch him hit, and he just clearly looks different than everybody else. He's always had a very smooth swing, especially from the left side. He's not really a picture perfect swing from the right side. He's still looking for his first hit from the right side, in fact, as a Cardinal.
This is Xavier Nady, so close the book on Ian Kennedy. His night is through after 3 innings. Gives up the 7 base hits and 9 runs, all earned. Nady, the former Padre and Pirate, Yankee, Cub, now finds a home here in Arizona.
What a bullpen killer this game is for the Diamondbacks.
Sure is. Only 3 innings from their starter.
After the game last night, La Russa was talking about Berkman's power the other way here. He has now 13 home runs at Chase Field. And he said maybe he thought left field were the Crawford boxes. Berkman said these are a lot deeper than they are.
Well, is there any doubt, though, Rick, that he tailored his swing once they moved from the Astrodome to that ballpark just to flip the wrist and knock it into the Crawford boxes in Houston? Ground ball to second. They'll get the lead man. And that is the out at second base.
Well, you have to wonder about cause and effect with that. Is he tailoring his swing because of the ballpark, or is he just a guy that is playing in the perfect ballpark because that's the way he is?
Follow the Cardinals with the MLB.com at Bat 11 app for your iPhone, iPad, Android, or BlackBerry. Get live audio, pitch-by-pitch tracking, video highlights, and more. Text at Bat to 31826 or visit Cardinals.com for details. So with one out, we're back to the top of the lineup.
Dan, a little bit like the Red Sox ballpark. You know, they've had over the years guys, left-handed hitters that can hit the ball off of the green monster the other way. But you bring in a guy and he tries to do that, and that's not his natural stroke. It just doesn't seem to work.
That's a much farther shot than the Crawford box.
Agreed.
You know, I mean, that's legitimate out there. And
ball's carrying, though, here. I noticed
plenty,
that.
yeah.
I noticed that in this series, and we saw that one that was hit with the roof off the other night that Justin Upton hit. Wow. Off
478 feet.
I mean, that's his long home run. I mean, I don't remember seeing too many home runs hit further than that.
1-0 pitch. Taken for his strike. And I know, Jim, speaking of Carpenter, you spoke to Dave Duncan about that start, which was not a sharp one for Chris last night.
Well, as you were discussing last night, Chris had problems with his off-speed stuff, and Dave said I was talking to Chris today about the start, and he said, Carpenter said, the funny thing is I feel healthier and stronger than I ever have. And Dave said that's part of the problem, because you're a little too strong, a little too healthy, and you're getting away mechanically from some of the things you're supposed to do, and just hauling off and throwing as hard as you can in situations you probably shouldn't.
Now, wait a minute.
Wait, there is something to that. I mean, there's something.
How does that happen?
Well, what happens? I mean, sometimes pain can be a great teacher. You know, if you're not in the right mechanics and your arm is not really fully sound, and you drop your elbow a little or you get out front, I mean, sometimes it just hurts so much you don't do it again. And so when you're strong and healthy, there are times where you can get a little, I don't want to say lazy, that's not the right word, but you can maybe not focus on your mechanics quite so much because you're just feel a little bit amped up physically.
Well, Dave explained exactly to me what he meant with the mechanics, and it was so complex I didn't really understand it. So I was hoping that Ricky would help me out. Something to do with the shoulder flying out. You would have understood it. I did.
Well, we got the shoulder part actually from Cal in the pregame show. He really looked at it and broke it down some and saw that little nuance with Carpenter. And every pitcher has something that they do when they go wrong, and the pitching coach tries to get them out of that, but you really have to be your own coach on the mound too. And again, talked about veteran pitchers are much better at that, at just feeling that something's not right and making the adjustment quickly.
Well, I know that a key also for consistency is repeatable delivery, and if you're a little too strong, I think it's easy to fall out of that.
No doubt. Ball to Stephen Drew, 1 ball, 1 strike, following the fly out by their leadoff man Johnson. Cardinals have a couple of new faces in their bullpen after the injuries to Augenstein and Talent last night. And Salas is one of those guys that had a very good spring. He's up, and so is Eduardo Sanchez.
Well, Sanchez will be making his major league debut. Tony says, I'd like to kind of ease him into it, to his first big league action, but if called upon, I'll throw him right into the fire. And Salas, he said, was his toughest cut, the final cut at spring. Even though Carpenter had that great spring training, he said Salas was a guy who expected to do well and then did it, and he felt bad having to send him back.
Here's a ground ball to short. Terrio to first, and they get Stephen Drew. Albert Pujols leads it off when we come back. Redbirds on top, 9-zip. Baseball and the Major League Baseball Players Association in helping Japan's children in need. Visit unicef.org or text Japan to 864-233 to donate $10. Standard text messaging applies. And for more information, visit MLB.com/Japan Relief. Our Chevy call to the bullpen, Aaron Heilman, the former Met. And he is in to pitch the 4th, 5th, 6th. Who knows how long he'll go.
As long as he can.
Second season with the Diamondbacks. He appeared in a team-high 70 games a year ago. 1-0 to Pujols. Watch out. I remember that Heilman was on the mound wearing that Mets uniform at Shea Stadium in 2006 and gave up that dramatic home run to Yadier Molina.
Thrilling Cardinal Nation. Heilman's one of those pitchers that looks great one day and doesn't look very good the next.
There's a grounder hit to Drew to his left. Pujols retired for the first time tonight. He has doubled, walked, and now grounded out. You know, Jim said something interesting about Tony La Russa with a guy like Sanchez. He said he'd like to ease him in, but we see so many times, number one, Ricky, where Tony La Russa immediately wants to get a new player in, maybe just to get the nerves away, those butterflies, and just get him back out there and playing at this level. But with a lead of 9-0, this might be the perfect time, depending if they have to go to the bullpen, to bring him in and introduce him to the big leagues.
That actually could constitute easing him in with that kind of a lead. You're certainly not easing him in if you bring him in 2-2 in a game in Dodger Stadium with the game on the line. And so I think this could be the perfect opportunity for us to see the major league debut of Eduardo Sanchez. He's only 22 years of age and just got a tweet, excuse me, from Jeff Luhnow, who's very excited about Sanchez making it to the big league level. He's really a graduate of the Latin American baseball school and making it to the big leagues. He really excited for Cardinal organization and for all the development that went into getting him to the big leagues. 3.19 ERA in his years in the minor leagues, and he's come quickly to the big league level.
2-1 pitch. Take it for a strike. Good to see that Holiday is still in this game, as he was hit by a pitch right in that area where you really get concerned on the wrist or top of the hand.
The man had an appendectomy. He can handle he can handle a fastball off the wrist. Actually, that is a tender area, and there are some bones in there that you can break.
2 away.
I want to make light of that because I don't want to get hit in the wrist. I mean, that's a 90 mile an hour fastball hitting you on a pretty bony part of your hand, and I've seen a number of players that have to be out for weeks with broken hands, fractures. I'm just glad that wasn't worse.
Here is Berkman. Big night already with his grand slam. Pulls it foul. We're seeing him do that a little bit more too, Rick. He's starting to really turn on the baseball.
Well, he's turning on the one that's inside. The ball that they're trying to throw down and away, he's dropping the bat head on it and hitting it with power that way. So that's part of why he's so dangerous. If you throw him soft in, he's going to pull it. If you throw him hard away, he's going to hit it the other way.
The 0-1 pitch.
It's really what pitch recognition is, Dan, for a hitter, is understanding what the pitcher's trying to do to you, and you see it right away, and you have the right swing to attack the ball, whether it's hard away or soft in.
Everything you need to know about Lance Berkman. There you go.
I'm going to say I've never seen so many numbers on one scoreboard at one time ever.
Look at that 06 season. 45 home runs. Drove in 136. Hit over 300. Here's a 2-1 pitch. Keith Oberman, who does our graphics, is salivating over seeing that. He's a numbers junkie. The 3-1 pitch. Take it for a strike.
All right, now this is fun if you're Lance Berkman. You look at all those numbers and 300. What if you were like a bad player, though? And they slapped up all these numbers.
30 errors.
Yeah, 30. That's right. That's right.
Come on, man.
Signed as a free agent.
Help me out here.
That's right.
Heilman, a 2-out walk. Cardinals Crew Kids Club, presented by Rawlings Sporting Goods, is quite the deal. For just $25, you get Cardinals tickets, a duffel bag, bobblehead toothbrush holder, silly mans, and more. Don't forget about the end of season party at Busch Stadium. And the guy that is a part of that this year, Ryan Franklin. There's a base hit out to left. That's really a neat deal. And he takes great pride, he was telling me, in heading up that Kids Crew Club, because he has a number of children himself, and they have that end of season party, and those kids really get a kick out of it.
What's fun about the veteran players too is their kids get to be that age where they can really enjoy their dad's career. A lot of guys are done playing by the time their kids get old enough to realize what their dad really does for a living. And I remember having to tell my kids at some point, they would come in and say, "Did you really know Ozzie Smith?" And I said, yeah, really, I knew him. He said, "Really? I mean, like he would recognize you?" And I said, "Yeah, really." And so they go tell their friends, and but at a young age, they can't enjoy it like Ryan's kids can, because he's been around longer, and they love watching him play. And there's a lot made of his family having a little meeting before the season and trying to determine whether or not he wanted to come back and play again, because he doesn't want to miss their things.
1-0 pitch to Schumacher, fouled back. Speaking of Ozzie, you head up the Legends Camp. You and Al do a great job with that, and it's a privilege to be down there with all the great former Cardinals. Ozzie put on a clinic at shortstop for a select few, and you and I were there. You were the one hitting the fungos to him. That was one of the most amazing things I have ever seen.
That was incredible. Brian Jordan was there with us, and
Brian Jordan told me, he said, "I've never seen him do this."
There's some things I saw him do there that I hadn't seen him do as well.
And we should explain it. He was trying to demonstrate how to field a ground ball for the campers. And you're hitting pretty good shots at him.
And he was coaching and teaching and performing all at the same time, and doing acrobatic things, the way we throw behind his back. He would have a conversation with the Legends campers that were there, and he would be speaking to them facing the third baseline, talking to them, and he would whip the ball around his body without looking to first base on a line to Brian Jordan, who was standing on the bag. He said sometimes you have to be able to throw a ball without looking, and he would just whip it around his body. I mean, incredible that he could do it at his age, at any age.
Slicing down the line, Parra over, can't get it. It's a foul ball. He's also bouncing some in the dirt on one hop that would hit right in the chest of Brian Jordan. And it was, well, I'll tell you what, we're going to actually put together a feature on this, because we had some of the video of it, and it is remarkable to hear him talk about that. And you wish he could work with some of the younger players too.
You and I felt the same way about it. We talked about it, as did Brian Jordan and I after it happened, that we actually were using the words that it was a privilege to be able to be there and watch Ozzie do what he did with those campers that came down to Florida.
It really was unbelievable to see him do that. And his explanation in doing that, he said, "I grew up loving basketball." They said, so in basketball, you have the opportunity to be a showman.
Right.
You go behind your back, you make crazy passes, hit these crazy shots. He said, well, in baseball, you don't get that chance. Except in BP, he said that was my chance to be a showman. And it was remarkable. Schumacher, deep right field, to the track, to the wall, and it's gone. 3-run homer. Skip Schumacher in one of the deepest parts of the ballpark.
Not known for his power, but every once in a while he charges into one. Was just about ready to say he was the only Cardinal who hasn't reached base yet. It's only the 4th inning, but he does more than reach first base. He gets to jog around each one of the bases as he tattoos his high fastball from Aaron Heilman. Way to go, Skip.
His first of the year. 12-0 St. Louis on 9 hits.
I'm sure there's more than just a few Cardinal fans that are having this thought right now. Wouldn't it be nice to have had a few of these runs carved up over some other ball games instead of getting 12 in one game? You can picture 2 or 3 games where a run or two would have made a difference, and the Cardinals may be over 500.
0-2 pitch to Laird, who is 2 for 2. Laird into right center. That ball will get down. He's digging for 2. Gerald Laird, 3-hit night, pair of doubles.
Well, that's the best ball he's hit. He's just having a magical night with the bat. Infield hit in the second, a bloop double in the third, and then he shoots the gap here in the fourth.
And it brings in Westbrook. Fouled away. Westbrook has an RBI double back in the third. Cardinals lead it 12-0. Heilman over. Underhands, and the Cardinals have added to their lead. 2 in the first, 6 in the second, 1 in the third, and 3 this inning on one swing of the bat. Third, all fans 16 and older receive a bronze statue featuring Cardinals Hall of Famer Red Schoendienst, courtesy of Edward Jones. The fourth in a series of 9, so don't miss it. 345-9500 for tickets on Friday night against the Reds. It's fireworks night. There are seats available through dynamic pricing for only $9 that night. And then we have the statue day on Saturday. Then it's Easter Sunday and the Stan the Man bobblehead giveaway. It's a Sunday night game due to ESPN. Westbrook back to work with a 12-run lead.
We mentioned the extra base hits early on, Dan. 2 more in that Cardinal fourth inning. Not just hits. Hits with power.
How would you describe the motion of Westbrook?
Well, he's kind of a short armor.
Exactly.
He's definitely not a guy that reaches way back and comes up on top and finishes at way out front. He just kind of shortens the arm arc and almost a flipper. And, you know, I've seen some guys like that, and it really takes away some velocity when you do that, but it can add movement. When you think about somebody throwing the baseball, I mean, when you say as opposed to a flipper, I mean, when you throw it, you're going to get a great arm extension and follow through, and it's almost like this big long arm arc. But if you're just using more of your wrists and your elbow and your forearm to throw the baseball. It's more like you're just flipping the ball like an infielder would. It's almost a short arm throw.
The 3-2 pitch to Justin Upton. Tapped foul. Talked about the Cardinals with Salas and Sanchez back up this year. Augenstein out with a groin injury, and Talent has a broken hand. They're talking about putting pins in his hand, and it's his right hand, not his left, not his throwing hand, as Westbrook has a walk. Not what he wants to do.
What a shame that was for Talent.
That was that collision with Drew at first base.
Bang, bang play at first, and he made such a great play. So did Albert. Drew misses first base and was able to save a run at the time, and the Cardinals were actually still in the game at the time. And for him to end up with a broken hand, we saw that he was getting attended to in between innings, but it just seemed like, well, maybe he just got spiked or something. But to actually have a fracture in that glove hand is just a shame.
Fouled away. This is Russell Branyan. Inside. And a called strike. Here we go again.
I'm looking at Gibby. A little more sedate right now than he was last night. He's not looking over to third, though.
A little different game tonight.
Yeah.
You pick your battles, don't you? This would not be one of them down by 12 runs.
No.
Nothing into the count on Russell Branyan. Branyan played in 21 games for the Cardinals a few years ago. Hit 1 home run. Another check swing.
Really didn't show much power when he was with the Cardinals. Beyond that home run, he just didn't seem like he was really a guy that had a lot left in the tank, but he's been able to resurrect his career.
Had 31 home runs in 2009 with Seattle. The 1-2. But with those home runs come the strikeouts. With that power, he struck out 149 times that season.
Come to the right club, hasn't he?
Yes, he has. So you get rid of Reynolds and LaRoche, and here's Branyan, but he's not playing every day. 2-2 pitch. Opposite field. He has just unbelievable power. Russell Branyan with a 2-run homer, his first of the year. You talked about it earlier. I mean, the ball is just jumping out of the ballpark right now.
Yeah, and he hit that ball well. It had a great sound off the bat, but that's 395 feet the other way. Not really a half swing, but a real smooth swing, and kind of Lance Berkman-like. One hand comes off the bat. I wonder if there's a little jet stream in there, maybe that's caused by the roof being off, and it just creates a little bit of a Candlestick Park feel.
You think about the ballpark in Houston, and rightfully so, because it sticks out like a sore thumb, the Crawford boxes, but talking with Lance Berkman, he was telling me one of the things that people overlook is a jet stream at that ballpark into right center near the bullpen, the home bullpen for Houston. And he said even though that's one of the deepest parts of the ballpark, that's where you see a lot of home runs go out of that particular spot for whatever reason. A 12-2 game now here in the bottom of the fourth. 1-2 on Chris Young.
I remember the conversation when the new Busch Stadium was built, ready for opening day 2006, and the conversation was, will this be a hitter's park or a pitcher's park based on the elevation of the ballpark? And kind of this where the river is, etc. And the answer I kept getting was, we don't know. We're going to have to wait and find out.
And thank goodness it's been a fair ballpark.
I would agree. Very good location here. Cutting that outside corner and moving downward.
Montero has flied out to center. Good downward action on that pitch there by Westbrook.
That's his bread and butter, downward action. You're only going to get hurt but so much if the ball is moving down. Almost impossible to elevate that ball. You can hit it hard like that ground ball there, but it's very difficult to get under it, elevate it. The sinker ball pitcher should give up very few home runs.
Line out back in the second. Goes to Rasmus in center. 1 ball and 2 strikes. 15 hits in 34 at bats so far this season. Off to Dodger Stadium tomorrow night. Garcia and Kuroda will have that action for you right here on Fox Sports Midwest. 8:30 with our pregame show. To the ground ball, Pujols underhands to Westbrook. And there's 2 outs. There'll be added security when the Dodgers return home tomorrow night after the unfortunate incident with a Giant fan. And so the club has taken it upon themselves to make sure that there is extra security.
Such a sad story, and Brian Stowe is the victim of a couple of Dodger fans. Violent act after a game, and he's just there to just root on his favorite team, and it just got worse than that, and you just hate to see that at the ballpark. You know that the game gets competitive on the field, and yeah, you want to beat the other team, but you know there's a perspective that we just have to maintain. Players have to maintain it, fans have to maintain it. You know, this is not all that important in the overall scheme of things.
Here's Parra. Came a first-time Papa the other night. Congratulations to him. Sure, he's getting a lot of sleep right now.
He might be.
Yeah. Mama, not so much.
I know how that works. We ball players, Dan.
I'm sure it's a balancing act.
It is.
The 0-1 pitch.
Not only a balancing act with the sleep, but you know these are young players. Many of these guys, young guys. You know, they're starting a family. Folks who've been through that and our parents understand how joyous that occasion is. And pretty soon he's going to go on a 10-day road trip somewhere, and that's going to be really, really hard for him to do.
0-2 pitch to Parra. Reaches for it. Terrio. Lost the handle. Remember earlier in the game, and I'm not sure that this is the reason why, but he was hit on his right arm by a pitch, and you questioned at the time, would it affect his defense?
Well, you wonder whether he just didn't get the grip on that ball. You also wonder whether he didn't get the grip on the ball because he got hit. They can be related, maybe not. I thought that might be a hit anyway. I just wasn't sure he was going to have time to throw out Gerardo Parra anyway. He's way past the base. Of course, not plan A as far as the throw's concerned, but I'm not sure he gets it.
And Schumacher was playing more towards first base, so couldn't get that lead man. All for naught, doesn't matter, as Arizona strands 2. TNT trivia question. Who was the last pitcher to lead the league in ERA with a losing record? Joe McGrain, 1988. 5-9 with a 2.18 ERA.
Joe was nasty when he first came up. He didn't throw much more than 91, 92 miles an hour, but he threw a real heavy ball. When you think about his stuff, you know, a little bit reminding me, I think about it, of Jaime Garcia with the great movement, kind of the whip-like action.
(12-2) Cardinals. Here's Ryan Theriot. Took an error on that odd throw. And in looking at the replay, Ricky, it just looked like the ball was on his fingertips and never really had a good grip on it.
Well, I think he was thinking second base at first. You mentioned Schumacher not able to get there because he was playing in the hole. And then he had his split attention to start thinking about throwing to first. And in that transfer from glove to hand, you know, it happens. Players make that look easy, and they do it routinely. You know, the other thing that happens with players is you will get in that transfer 99% of the time they will be grabbing the ball in the exact same spot on the ball when they make that transfer from glove to hand.
Drew deep in the hole. Long throw to first, not in time. You know, explain that to folks at home or even some of our younger viewers. What you want to do when you throw the baseball.
Well, when you're an infielder, you want to throw the ball across the horseshoe. Across the horseshoe and have your fingertips on seams. And when you throw that ball, you're going to have four seams cutting against the wind. If you hold the ball with the seams, now a pitcher will hold the ball right on top of the seams. That makes the ball move left to right. An infielder doesn't want it to move. They want it to go straight. So again, 99 times out of 100, an infielder is going to catch a ground ball, and automatically they just know how to do it. Move the ball in their hand as they're taking it out of the glove, so they have that proper grip across the horseshoe, fingertips right on top of a seam for maximum control. Kind of like throwing a football. You're going to throw a football, of course you'd have your fingertips on the laces.
Colby with a bunt hit back in the first, RBI double in the second, and flied out to left. Not as much experience in taking a look at the scoreboard.
Thought maybe they'd have his junior high school stats. Test scores.
That's hit down the right field line. Extra bases here for Rasmus. He's really swinging a hot bat. And they'll hold up Ryan Theriot at third and give Pujols a chance to do some damage here. Pujols very easily could have had a RBI back in the first. It was ground rule double. He's walked and also grounded out. But Colby Rasmus, a little bit of everything here tonight.
Well, he started out by bunting. Base hit in the first inning. Later he scores. Then a double in the second inning. This ball hit hard into the right field corner. He's also shown some leather defensively. Made a nice play going into right center field. Gets a good jump. Takes a good route. Sure hands. And then another double here in this inning. Rasmus having an unbelievably good night.
He's showing you what he can do. Speed, glove, hit for power. All the things that we've talked about concerning Colby Rasmus since he arrived on the scene. 1-0 pitch. Pujols, little chopper up the middle. One run is in. Here comes another. Albert with 2 RBIs. His second hit tonight. He's been on base 3 times. Slowly but surely. Here he comes.
Well, Dan, I'm going to point back to that time last night. I believe.
Thank you. I like this.
I believe it was 5:41 Pacific Standard Time.
It was.
You made the statement that you thought Albert was back. He was going to have a monstrous rest of the series, and he had 3 hits in the game last night, 2 hits already tonight, a couple of RBIs, and I mean, all I could think to do is credit Dan McLaughlin for Albert's regeneration.
And I feel the love. Thank you. So 14-2 game, and this might be a chance where a guy like Holiday, who was hit by a pitch, a Theriot who was hit by a pitch, maybe even a Pujols, give them a little rest looking ahead to tomorrow night.
And again, I'm looking forward to not only the rest from some of these players, but I'd like to see a major league debut in this game tonight. And you also wonder whether or not it might be a good time to get an inning out of Ryan Franklin.
Keep him sharp.
Keep him sharp. Hasn't pitched in a while. Get him moving in the positive direction. Maybe he doesn't even have to be in the 9th inning necessarily, but get him some work.
1 ball, 1 strike. A 12-run St. Louis lead on 13 hits. Cardinals thought they were going to hit, but not like this. They've scored in every inning. 2 in the first, 6 in the second, 1 in the third, 3 in the fourth, and 2 here in the fifth.
Diamondbacks last night scored in each of the first 6 innings.
Last year was Heilman's first year outside the Mets organization with those 70 appearances with Arizona. Holiday takes a pitch a little bit low, 3-2. Came up back in 2003. That home run that Molina hit was a 2-run homer in the 9th inning of the NLCS. And truly one of the great games in the history of all the great games the Cardinals have had. But you think about the drama of Andy Chavez, the catch on Roland's potential home run, and then the double up of Edmonds, I believe it was, at first. And then the dramatics of Molina, and then the dramatic 9th inning strikeout of Carlos Beltran, and just a knee-buckling curveball from Adam Wainwright, who was spectacular in postseason play.
One of the great things about baseball, Dan, is you really can't script that. It just plays itself out, but these great moments just continue to happen year after year. Ooh, and that's not one of them.
That certainly isn't one of them. That looks bad, doesn't it? Some boos here in Arizona. Well, whose ball is it there? You got 3 there. You got the third. You got this shortstop and the left fielder. Parra coming on has the best chance at it.
Well, it's not the third baseman's ball. I mean, it's great that he's running out to do his best, Mora, to lend a hand, but it's either has to be caught by Drew or the left fielder, Parra.
Was there anybody that you saw, you played with or played against? Did you see what Berkman has done at Chase Field with these home runs in 4 in this series, but going back on a ball and making a catch, a third baseman than Terry Pendleton?
I was just going to say, Terry, you're reading my mind today, Dan. That's a really scary thought. But Terry Pendleton, I guarantee you, would have caught that ball.
He was unbelievable at that play, that catch over the shoulder.
He did it so many times. Not like he did it once, twice, 3 times. I mean, like dozens of times he made that play, made it look easy.
He didn't get enough credit for his defense, did he?
I agree.
You know, Ozzie on the left and Hurd second.
We talked a little bit about Cardinal third basemen in history and how good they were defensively. Mentioned Kenny Reitz, how good he was. I forgot to mention Ken Oberkfell. He was an outstanding defensive third baseman as well. Scott Rowland.
Little chopper to first. Branyan takes it himself. Steps on the bag. Kirk Gibson trying to change the mindset of this Diamondbacks team. And one thing he has pointed to here in the first couple of weeks that he really likes, and he says to both of us, he said, our team plays hard. You know, we may not have the most talent, but I want to see our guys play hard, and I like what I see.
Well, playing hard, think about Kirk Gibson. That's what he epitomized. Joe Patini was talking about guys that would come in hard at second base, and he once had Kirk Gibson knock him over in a minor league game at second base to break up a double play, and Joe was not sure he was actually going to get up from that.
Now, Joe's not one of the biggest guys in the world either.
No, he's not, but he said he got hit by a lot of guys, but getting hit by Kirk Gibson. And what he remembered about that, and he and Gibby were talking about that, and what he remembered is Gibby was really not concerned about himself, because Gibby knew it wouldn't hurt him. He really was concerned that he may have damaged our buddy Joe Patini, and was thankful to see that Joe got up from that. And Joe was a tough, scrappy player. Most of his career was with the Giants in the big league level. I'm not sure I would want that man to hit me.
Don't forget about that football career of Kirk Gibson.
Oh, yeah.
Michigan State, drafted by the St. Louis Football Cardinals. Two balls, two strikes. David Freese is 1 for 3 with a base hit and a run scored in the 4th. Fights it off, little bloop into right, that'll drop. Here comes Pujols. He will score 15-2.
When it rains, it pours. Cardinals have had balls that they've hit hard, and they've had bloop hits. Everything falling. This one not hit on the nose by David Freese. Still his second hit in as many innings. And this is a long night for Diamondbacks pitchers.
Redbirds leading by 13 runs. And for Arizona,
Esmerling Vasquez was brought up today. The Diamondbacks did make a move before the game today. They sent out Cam Nicolayo, who had a rough day yesterday. They sent him back to AAA, and they brought up Vasquez. He's been in the big leagues before, has some experience, and now it'll be his turn to try to get 3 or 4 or 5 innings out of this bullpen.
15-2 St. Louis. 14 hits this evening.
50 games with the Diamondbacks the last couple of years. Did not make the team out of spring training, however.
Schumacher with a 3-run homer back in the 4th. Lined out to first, just hit a screamer, and also flied out to left. 1-1 pitch.
Be interesting. Think about the Cardinal batters right now. Can you think of any batter off the top of your head that doesn't look good at the plate right now? Not very many. Maybe Molina.
Sitting under 150. Molina, if you go back to last night, one of the real frustrating aspects of that game was that they had Galarraga on the ropes. Remember, he had walked 2 and then came up with the bases loaded, and the first pitch grounds out. So Molina gets the night off, and Gerald Laird has come up with 3 base hits, including 2 doubles. Skip in the air, shallow left. Parra makes the catch. Redbirds have scored in every inning. 3 more here in the 5th. 15-2. Garcia and Corona tomorrow. And we'll come your way at 8:30 with the pregame show here on Fox Sports Midwest, your exclusive home to Cardinals baseball all season long. Off day for the Diamondbacks tomorrow. They'll welcome in San Francisco on Friday. John Jay takes over in left field. New corner outfielders. Alan Craig is in right. $15 runs tonight, most since '08 against Atlanta. 18 runs in that ball game. The 2-0 pitch. Ground ball to Schumacher. 1 away. Is it tough to get a decent read on Westbrook tonight with this kind of lead?
No, I don't think so. I think you still have to like what you've seen out of him. He gave up a 2-run home run in that 4th inning, but he seems to have settled down in the control department, Dan. I think that's really the key. He does have 2 walks in this game, but a lot more first pitch strikes from Westbrook. And, you know, maybe I'm just looking for it, but I do think that his pace has gotten a little bit better. Seems to be more, doesn't seem to be rushing, seems to be in control of what he's doing. There's the first pitch strike again. Doesn't seem to be in a hurry, like he's got a plane to catch to LA or something.
Well, then speed it up. 16 of 21 first pitch strikes.
I spent my year coaching with the Indians. Dan O'Dowd was our minor league director, and he called me during the winter after hiring me, and he said, tell me the one thing that you think is critically important for a pitcher. And I said, first pitch strikes. And he said, okay, I want you to chart them all year and tell me every week what our pitchers do with that. So I learned not to volunteer to do a job after that conversation, but it really was telling.
Talked about the short arm of Westbrook. What about his stride?
Well, you can't have a long stride if you've got a short arm action. He's just kind of pick up his foot, put it down. He's not way out there. And there's the short arm delivery. They kind of have to go together. Your body, you know, there's a lot of things going on with that mechanics. What you're doing with your lead arm, you're pulling your lead arm out of the way. You know, you have to actually, with your glove and your front side, you have to basically you're pulling it down or pulling it out of the way. Otherwise, your backside won't come through. There's the landing. There's the finish. that make the mechanics work together.
We were talking to a scout today, both of us, and he was frustrated in watching the game last night. So I ask you, first pitch strike percentage-wise in the minor leagues, what do you think it was?
Well, we told them to shoot for 70, and if they made 70%, they typically had a good game.
That gets past Pujols.
Not always, but that was a pretty good barometer. If you could throw 70% first pitch strikes. There's the delivery again. The short, stiff leg. He lands with a stiff leg. There's the hop. Tough play for Albert.
And an air charge to Pujols. It's one he might tell you he's got to get over and get in front of it, but we haven't seen him do that very often in his career. Soft hands, he usually picks that.
Kind of an in-between hop there. I'm not sure he was sure what to do with that ball. And the indecision, I think, hurt him. And another error for Albert. That's his third error of the season. Terrio made an error earlier. He has 4. But the Cardinals had played 4 straight games without an error going into this contest.
Brandon with a 2-run homer to account for the scoring for Arizona tonight. 2 balls and no strikes. That was his first home run and first RBIs on the year. Outfield is deep for Russell Brandon. That'll drop in front of Colby Rasmus. The top spin on that hard hit ball. We turn to this date in baseball history, brought to you by Schnucks. Lee Arthur Smith records save number 358, passing Jeff Reardon to become the all-time saves leader. 9-7 win over the Dodgers back in 1993. The question with Lee Smith, will he make it to the Hall of Fame?
Boy, I hope so. He absolutely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. I don't understand why he doesn't get more attention. Maybe it's because he played for so many different teams along the way. But you stack him up against the other great relievers that are now in, Gossage and Suter, are 2 that come to mind. I mean, he is in that class, and by sure numbers, he's ahead of that class.
Backs up, but taken for a ball. 2 balls and no strikes.
So fortunate that I had a chance to play with Lee. Great teammate, fun guy. Not a serious bone in that man's body.
478 saves. Past Terrio on a base hit. Jay fires towards the plate. Cut off by Freeze. 15-3. Lee Smith with the Cubs, Boston, St. Louis, Yankees, Baltimore, Angels, Cincinnati, and Montreal.
That'll be an unearned run charge to Westbrook due to the Pujols error.
Runners at first and second for Montero, who is 0 for 2.
Really have a question coming to mind here, Dan, about how long you go with Jake Westbrook. The Cardinals have already taken out Matt Holliday and Lance Berkman from left field and right field and given them some rest before the team heads off to Los Angeles for a 4-game series there. But you've got kind of a push-pull in terms of your starting pitcher. You think, well, okay, maybe it'd be a chance to give a short start to him and give him 5 or 6 innings, but then you make the bullpen pitch more innings. And you're just not sure you want to do that going into a series in Los Angeles. You might rather go a little longer with your starting pitcher.
Base hit just inside the line. 1 run in. Jay over to get it. Fires into second base. And it's a double and an RBI for Montero. 15-4. Pretty nice piece of hitting here.
Yeah, he just goes with this pitch, off-speed pitch away, and he hits it hard. That pitch is down and away. Could not have been really a better location. Montero, there's a reason he's second in the National League in batting. You know, I also like the strong throw from John Jay there on that play, Dan. You've seen a lot of outfielders throwing to wrong bases early on, not just Cardinals. I mean, just the games we've seen. In that case, Jay was trying to keep another runner out of scoring position, and he threw the ball right on the bag at second. Bang bang play there.
Check swing did not go. You know, going back to Lee Smith for a moment, some may say that a reason that he's not in the Hall of Fame is that you look at guys like Eckersley, Suter, Goose Gossage, Raleigh Fingers getting outs in World Series.
Yeah.
Off the glove of Westbrook. And Moore is safe. Run scores to make it 15-5.
This is great effort all the way around. Westbrook tries to knock it down. Quick reflexes, does knock it down. Schumacher on the dead run. Mora trying to beat it out. Bang, bang play again at first. And Schumacher did everything he could do to try to save that run.
Here is Parra. Runners at the corners. And all this done after the error by Pujols. So 95 pitches tonight for Westbrook. Opposite field. Jay is back with room and makes the catch. Diamondbacks pick up 3 and they cut it to 10. Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by Jack in the Box, where you can get anything on the menu any time of day. And by Steel. Are you ready for a steal? Arizona tonight, and it's 15-5. Cardinals with the lead as the top of the 6th rolls in. Darrell Laird, big night, filling in for Molina with 3 hits. Single and a pair of doubles.
And the backup catcher has a 3-for-3 night. Those hits can last you about a month as far as your batting average is concerned.
Isn't that the truth?
You don't get very many of them.
Laird taps it foul. 1 ball, 1 strike. See there, Ricky with the telestrator. Straight away, just about in center field. 1-1 pitch. And why did you circle a foot there, Ricky?
I just felt like it, Dan.
Inside to Laird.
Don't have to have an explanation, do I?
Not at all. And if you just want to draw, go right ahead.
Well, I used to be under contract with Nike, and so I just thought I'd maybe give them some props. And then I was done playing, and then I had to go buy my own shoes.
Didn't carry over, huh?
No. And then I tell you, the worst thing was when I had to buy a baseball glove for the first time in 15 years. They got expensive in that 15-year period.
Two pitch to Laird. On its way. First time he's been retired tonight. Is it hard for you to believe that Tony La Russa is now in year 16
Yeah.
of being a manager of the Cardinals?
It really is hard to believe. I mean, it's been a long, long time. You just don't see that very often. That's a career and then some for most managers at the big league level. And of course, he had a whole career before he came to St. Louis.
Fastball and a strike.
And
This is Westbrook.
I just don't think he's done either. I just think he loves doing what he does, and all the career wins he has, another, of course, shoe-in Hall of Famer whenever he decides to retire.
Ricky, he is 121 wins away from being second all-time in baseball history. And once he gets to that mark, I think then it becomes a real subject for him as to whether or not he continues second all-time, or he says, all right, maybe it's time for me to go in the front office or do something different in the game.
I'm not sure I've been around as many people, or many people have been as driven as Tony La Russa, and I feel like he's made that kind of assessment 5 other times in his career to say, you know what, I'll keep going so I can do A, B, C, D. And then he does that, and then he says, oh, I'll keep going to do, you know, E, F, G, H. And then, I mean, I think he'll try to catch Connie Mack. If he catches McGraw, who's second, maybe he'll try to manage another 30 years and buy the team and catch Connie Mack.
Here's the 0-1 pitch to Terrio. In the air to right. And that is a fair ball. How did that ball stay fair?
Cardinals getting every break imaginable. There'll be an error on the right fielder allowing him to go to third. And another extra base hit for the Cardinals.
Terrio now edging closer to 300. Back-to-back hits for Ryan Terrio.
Seen a lot of guys going the other way in this game. Up and away. He hits it away. Right on the chalk.
Here's Colby with a runner at third and 2 outs. He's had a big night.
Colby was hitting .357 coming into this game and has been as consistent as any Cardinal all year long with the bat.
Slowly hit to second, and Rasmus retired. Single in the 5th and a run scored. Double in the 6th for Ryan Terrio. You see right there, presented by Tickets.com on Sunday, April 24th. That's Easter Sunday. First of its kind, the Stan the Man bobblehead. That weekend is loaded with promotional nights and giveaways. Ryan Roberts running out of room to find places to put a tattoo. Digs in. Picks up a base hit.
He had a couple last night.
Today's carsoup.com email the booth question from Winnie in Troy, Illinois. The player's in the middle of a hitting streak and takes a day off. Is the streak still alive and active?
The answer is yes, Willie. The streak is still alive. It doesn't have to be consecutive games. It's consecutive games that you've played in. There's a few Cardinals that have some streaks going on right now. Short ones. But since everybody's getting hits, I would assume there's about 8 guys with 2-game hit streaks.
Miguel Bautista getting loose. 8 hits tonight for Arizona.
How about what Joe DiMaggio did?
56.
56. I don't recall the exact number. I want to say it was in the 30s, maybe even higher than that, where he had the streak, then made an out, then did the 56.
Is this now, in your opinion, the hardest in baseball to get to?
Yeah, I don't know how you do that.
And maybe because of the specialization of the bullpens now, that would lend itself to it.
And if a guy's that hot, they're going to find ways to pitch around you. Yeah, I don't know how you break that.
Here's Johnson in a 15-5 game.
Actually, the hardest record to break is hitting 2 grand slams in 1 inning.
Fernando Tatis
off of 1 pitcher.
Chan-Ho Park.
That I think the hit streak record breaks first before that one does.
That was an unbelievable night at Dodger Stadium.
That can't happen.
Here's a 1-1 pitch. High fly ball out to left. Jay under it, makes the catch. Tatis reinvented himself too. Came back.
Sure did. Give him credit for that.
An outfielder with the Mets.
He came back to the minor leagues and worked his way back too. And a lot thinner player, more of a gap hitter and less of a power hitter. And
here's Stephen Drew with a runner at first.
You'd have to assume this is the last inning for Westbrook. Pitch count now over 100.
You see Blake Hawksworth wearing a Dodger uniform now. Pitched in their ball game last night. Former Cardinal. Jam shot into right for a base hit. Falls in front of Alan Craig.
Dodgers have always liked those relievers that throw 95. Hawksworth occasionally gets it up there. There's the jam shot.
Brings in Justin Upton. Reached on an air by Pujols last inning. Walked and scored in the 4th and struck out his first time up. And this will be it. Bautista will come in with 1 out and 2 on here in the 6th inning. The former Diamondback. And it's Garcia and Corona. What's on tap is brought to you by the good folks at Budweiser. It's Garcia and Corona at 8:30 tomorrow. Miguel Bautista takes over for the Redbirds. Cardinals leading 15-5. I think it's safe to say you would have liked to have seen Westbrook go a little bit deeper here tonight.
Yeah, that's 3 starts now, and he does not have a quality start yet. A quality start, 6 innings and 3 runs or less. But he pitched decently in this game. Of course, the big, huge lead early on made it kind of an easy one for him to battle through. Bautista needs a little work anyway, and he's really been a good find. So far, he's been, I'd say, good every time out, and as solid as anybody out in that bullpen, and as reliable as anybody in that bullpen.
Bautista was with Arizona in 2006 after 2 years with Toronto in 04 and 05, and then prior to that he was with Arizona. So 2 stints with the Diamondbacks. And here is Justin Upton. Upton with 2 runners on. It's first and second.
Tried to hit that ball 478 feet.
Hard hitting Mark Whitten. 12 RBIs, 4 home runs against Cincinnati. Some will tell you he was not the same after that game. It's one of my favorite jackpot calls of all time. The 4th home run, he says, what a blast that was. What a blast this is.
Oh, that's great. I don't recall that.
Kind of sums it up. Mark Whitten was at the winter warm-up this last year. Looks like he still could be playing. But 4 home runs that night. He had just over 100 in his career.
Winter warm-up's always a great event. So many former Cardinals come back, and of course there's more than 70 former Cardinals that live in the greater St. Louis area that have stayed after their careers. The alumni group keeps growing and growing. The alumni group had a whole box of people at opening night, and 2 or 3 times a year the Cardinals are kind enough to bring all the families together for a ball game, and it really is just a great connection. And what we always love to say, I think it's true, once a Cardinal always a Cardinal.
1-2 pitch outside. Bautista will always be remembered for many for his brawl and the fight that ensued with Tino Martinez at the old Busch Stadium.
I think we could probably check one of those copies of post-game show, and I probably had some harsh words for Mr. Bautista.
Three-two pitch. Upton chops it to third. Free steps on the bag. On to first. Double play. Bautista gets the double play from the speedy Upton. We head to the 7th. here in Arizona, and it's 15-5. Cardinals with a 10-run lead. Juan Gutierrez takes over.
He's the fourth hurler of the night for Arizona. Has not been a good night for them as a staff, and he did not have a good night in game one of this series. You might remember that he gave up the back-to-back home runs in the ninth. Berkman and John Jay, and he was not sharp at all.
See Descalso and Jay. Home Depot doing more on defense. Double play by Freeze. Descalso 3 for 16 so far this year.
Leading off for St. Louis and pinch hitting for Albert Pujols, number 33, Daniel Descalso.
Descalso is pinch hitting for Pujols.
And Albert's up to 229 after another two-hit night.
In the air out to deep left center. Slicing, that ball will get down. One hops off the wall. Daniel Descalso with a leadoff double. Pinch hitting for Pujols and acting like him. Extra base hit after extra base hit tonight.
That's 10 of them. Deepest part of the ballpark. Descalso not really thought of as a power hitter. We saw Skip Schumacher hit a long home run in the fourth inning. Everybody hitting today. They're finding the lines down the right field line.
Here's John Jay. 2 for 5 so far in this road trip. Got a pinch hit home run on Monday. He and Berkman went back to back.
Dan, it's strange. There are times where you have a game where it seems like there's 40 fielders out there. You hit the ball hard and right at somebody and can't buy a hit. And there are other times it seems like there are all kinds of holes and you keep finding them.
Jay grounds out. Daniel moves up to third, and there's one away.
Right fielder Alan Craig.
Brings in the right fielder now, Alan Craig. Berkman had a big night with a walk, a run scored, 2 of them, and a grand slam. So Craig pinch hitting for Berkman, or staying in the game rather, for his replacement of Berkman.
You don't often get the opportunity to do what Tony La Russa is doing in this game, and that is get some at-bats for your bench to try to keep them sharp. It almost seems that every bench at-bat, Dan, is game on the line, pinch hitting in the 8th inning against the other team's closer, and you don't really get a chance to feel the game and feel a couple of at-bats, and not the same as starting, but play the field 2 or 3 innings. It's just really good experience for them to keep them on track.
1-1 pitch. You get the rest of the guys that play every day and get these guys in and try to keep them sharp.
The answer to the question that people may be asking when they hear you say that, does it really make a difference for him to rest 4 or 5 innings of a big league game if you're Albert Pujols or Matt Holliday? And the answer is yes, it does. Mentally and physically, just to be able to shut it down right now and just kind of relax and know that your day is through and just enjoy being at the ballpark here and enjoy a Cardinal victory.
Freeze with 2 outs. Outfield straight away. A little surprised to see this guy still in the game. This would be the one that wouldn't surprise me to come out.
That's a good point. You have Tyler Green on the bench.
We have not seen a lot of Green at all this year.
What we've seen of him has been pretty good. I particularly liked watching him play second base in San Francisco. I thought he looked really smooth at second base. I actually asked him after the game if he played a lot of second base, and he said no. He said he'd always been a shortstop, but the Cardinals have used him at second, used him in center field. There was a lot of talk in spring training about maybe him being a guy that could push Colby for some at-bats in center field against left-handed pitching. He also can play third base. The question about Freese's ankle was out there in spring training, so Green became kind of a valuable utility man.
David strikes out, and it's time to stretch. 16 hits tonight for the Cardinals. They lead it. You get a look at a future All-Stars. We had to break. To choose StubHub next time you want to watch or catch a game at Busch Stadium. Official fan-to-fan ticket marketplace of the Cardinals. Batista still in the game in relief of tonight's starter, Jake Westbrook. Branyan has homered tonight, opposite field, a 2-run shot. Grand slam tonight for Lance Berkman, part of a 6-run second inning for the Redbirds. Scored in 5 innings tonight. They have 16 hits. David Freese over at first.
Descalzo stays in the game to play third.
Batista, age of 40, and still can throw in the mid-90s.
Open stance for Russell Branyan. You know, players, Dan, sometimes will start with an open stance, sometimes they'll start closed, but everybody squares up by the time the ball leaves the pitcher's hands.
95 by Batista.
There's
Is this the guy that is going to take over the role of Kyle McClellan?
Keep throwing like pitches like that, and he will. He's the best choice right now for that position.
Leadoff walk. .30 tomorrow, St. Louis time. Garcia and Kuroda.
I am still hoping to see Eduardo Sanchez in this game tonight. And I've got half a mind, and don't agree with me when I say I have half a mind, Dan. I know what you're thinking. To say that it's a good opportunity to give Ryan Franklin an inning as well. Let Sanchez pitch the 8th. Ryan pitch the 9th.
One ball, one strike on Young. Popped up. Shallow left. Jay coming on and makes the catch.
Pinch hitting for Miguel Montero, number 12, Henry Blanco.
Tommy, our director tonight. Mike Kelling, our producer. Brian McCann with us. Keith O'Brien. Henry Blanco, he's been around a long time. Pops it up. He's the personal catcher for Greg Maddux. You might remember in Atlanta.
Great job to have. A lot of job security in that.
You bet. Here's Melvin Mora. Average at .292 with a pair of hits tonight. 2 singles and an RBI. 2 down with a runner at first.
So what's Sanchez thinking in the bullpen right now?
Get me in.
Get me in. He's half excited, half scared. 22 years of age. Still a kid.
Popped up again.
And maybe having a chance tonight to have his dream finally come true and be a big leaguer.
Find out as we head to the 8th. It's 15-5. Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. Bank of America. Cardinals banking only at Bank of America. And by AT&T.
And that is Eduardo Sanchez. And he is getting ready for his major league debut. Just the right inning. It's the bottom of the order. 10-run lead. Perfect chance to get him in a game, and you know the butterflies are just in full force in his stomach right now.
He is from Venezuela. Non-drafted free agent back in 05 is when he signed. Last year he began the season at Double-A. Then he was promoted to Memphis. With 3 for 3 in save opportunities, 26 games at Memphis.
Dan, you know what I would love to point out in this kind of situation too is that, you know, this is just going to be an awesome moment not only for him but for his family, for his coaches, for his friends, for some of his minor league teammates who are going to be rooting for him to have a successful big league debut. I mean, this is really a celebration in a lot of ways when somebody gets to this point of getting to be a big leaguer for the first time. I love debuts. I just absolutely do. Win, lose, or draw. It's just a celebration.
And yours?
It was a really short celebration. Home run on the first pitch, double on the second.
See you later.
Now I got to stay in for 3 more innings.
Oh, you did?
Finally got somebody out. But the first couple pitches were not very celebratory.
Here's Tyler Green, 2 for 7. Post-game show coming up. It's a pretty good breaking ball there. That's the sharpest we've seen yet. Green offered at it for the strike, 1-2. And a called third strike.
Strike
debut coming up.
Strike zone getting bigger as the game goes on.
Eduardo Sanchez, the 22-year-old from Venezuela. 15-5 game. Bottom of the 8th, bottom of the order, bigger strike zone, everything going his way.
Well, all set up for him to have a nice debut. I guess he's proving that you don't have to be 6 feet tall to be a pitcher in the big leagues. Most scouts would say they're not going to draft anybody unless they're over 6 feet. He just 5'11", 170, and his teammates are, of course, excited for him to get this opportunity as well, and look forward to it being a successful one for Eduardo Sanchez. Again, we mentioned how he is a product of the Winter League school, the Latin American school, and Jeff Luhnow and his staff and his crew have done a lot to try to develop young Latin players. And I'm sure growing up in Venezuela, it's basically you are a baseball fan in that country. Baseball is king, and he is getting a chance to play a King's game.
This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the St. Louis Cardinals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals. Parra leads it off against Eduardo Sanchez.
Everything about this appearance he will remember the rest of his life. He'll remember the first pitch, the batter, the date, the temperature.
Well, he's been at the ballpark since about 10:30 this morning as they flew in from Memphis. Good start. First pitch, a strike.
Already better than mine.
0-1 pitch. And he's going to get it out in the first batter that he sees. Parra grounds out. Good start for Sanchez.
He's thinking this league's easy.
Not sure about that. He's 22, so he might.
Well, you can't pitch at this level if you don't have a great deal of confidence.
Absolutely.
In your ability.
Coming in, throwing strikes.
And throwing hard, too. 94 miles an hour with a little movement. Looks like he's a little bit of a slinger. Way over a strikeout an inning in his minor league career. .262 strikeouts in 237 innings. That is a high number. Again, the low ERA, career minor league ERA of 3.1. Just a name we haven't heard as much about compared to some of the other prospects that the Cardinals are developing. But you're talking about a guy, the opponent's batting just .217 against him in 5 minor league seasons. I mean, that's pretty impressive.
.95 on that pitch. All right, break down his delivery. What do you see?
Well, he's not over the top. He's kind of 3/4. Again, he's not a tall pitcher to begin with, but he really generates a lot of power, clearly.
And a strikeout, first in his career.
Really
Sanchez,
good.
A strikeout of Ryan Roberts.
Really good arm speed. You know, you hit the ball far when you've got good bat speed. You throw the ball hard when you've got good arm speed. Here's his delivery. Head is straight. Knee comes way up. He drives hard off his back foot. Again, throwing off a stiff front leg. 94 miles an hour. You always wonder with a young pitcher, start to think who he reminds you of in terms of his mechanics.
That's a foul ball. Remember Manny Ibar?
I do remember Manny Ibar.
Not a big guy like Sanchez. Here's the 0-1 pitch. Breaking ball that time. 0-2. 0-2 pitch. 2 strikeouts in his debut. And what a debut it is. The youngster, 22 years of age, Sanchez, 2 strikeouts in his debut, a 1-2-3 inning. And now he turns into a hitter.
Get all the firsts out of the way on the first day. First day in the big leagues, first appearance, first at bat. Already had his first strikeout. Not going to get his first hit, is he? No, I don't think so.
Patterson is in, the lefty. We've seen a bunch of him.
We have. That's what happens when you're the only left-hander in the bullpen, and that's something that the Cardinals are going to have to deal with now, with Brian Tallett on the DL. Raul Valdez had a really good start in AAA Memphis a few days ago. A lot of punch-outs. Just 1 earned run in his start, and he's an option going forward if the Cardinals need another left-hand.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Like Sanchez is choking up with 2 strikes. Works it full.
Choking up. Seems like he knows the strike zone pretty well.
And he strikes out. Lance Berkman safe at home. Safe and secure. New York life as Berkman would cross home plate with his grand slam and 4 home runs in the 3 ball games here at Chase Field. Here's Rasmus. Rasmus was on deck, going to the on-deck circle, I should say, before our first pitch of this top of the ninth, and there was a young boy, physically handicapped, that was at the on-deck circle, and Colby put his bat down here in the middle of the game to go over and talk to the boy.
How about that?
Pretty neat. Gave him a high five and was talking with him before he picked up his bat again. Kid had a huge smile. Three and 1 to count. There's a young boy down there.
You know, there are times where players can thrill young fans by what they do on the field, and there's sometimes when they can thrill young fans just by going over and saying hello.
Yep, that was one of them. Gave him a fist pump and talked a little bit. Scalzo has doubled tonight. So Sanchez will finish this game. That's taken outside. One thing you'd have to say, you get into a late inning situation now, Ricky, the way that Berkman is swinging the bat, the team would have to turn him around.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point.
Let him hit from the right side because he's starting to really tear it up from the left side.
And that's part of the balance that you were hoping for when you devised this Cardinal offense for 2011, to have Colby Rasmus and Berkman as the left-handed threats. Schumacher is kind of your on-base guy from the left side, and then the power from the right side in Pujols, Holiday, and Freese. You've got the Scalzo and Jay from the left side off the bench. Again, the righty-lefty thing really does matter over the course of a season.
Nice at bat by Descalso to hang in there against the lefty.
He's 2 for 2.
Made a good impression last year when he came up. Carried over to spring. It wasn't a great spring. They talked about him still, though, hitting the ball well. You know, Tony La Russa told me they thought, even though the numbers didn't show it, right, he hit the ball hard.
Yeah, his numbers were not good, and he was in a battle with Matt Carpenter for a very long time. We mentioned last night Carpenter batting under 200 for Memphis right now, but he had a strong showing of his own in spring training, and at some point we'll see him as a Cardinal.
John Jay grounded his second. He's 0 for 1. Took over in left field. 1 ball, 1 strike with 2 outs. Everything a final with the exception of this ball game in San Francisco and Los Angeles. Giants lead that 4-3 in the 7th.
Interesting to watch him wrap his arm in a towel. Sanchez, the pitcher. Some players like to wear a coat, but that can make you feel too warm. So instead of doing that, just kind of really, the only thing you really care about keeping warm is your arm, particularly your elbow. Seems like a focused dude, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned how long he's been here at the ballpark. Maybe he's taking a nap in between innings.
2-2, misses inside. Patterson steps and throws and makes the play. Sends us to the bottom of the 9th. 15-5, St. Louis. Player of the game, 1 for 3, grand slam, a walk, 5 RBIs, and 2 runs scored. Not a bad night at all.
Yeah, just 1 hit, but that hit was a huge blow in this game. It came early on in the 2nd inning, gave the Cardinals a huge lead. They kept extending that lead. 17 hits here tonight, and Sanchez making his major league debut out for his 2nd inning of work. He was very good in that 1st inning, Dan. 2 punch outs, a little ground ball. And interesting to see that Tony La Russa has decided to give him that 2nd inning, give him a little bit more experience.
If I told you that in a 3-game series, 10 RBIs over a decade of play for Lance Berkman is the most he's ever had in a 3-game series, would that surprise you?
Yeah.
He's done it here. Most he's ever had in a 3-game series. Back in 2000, he had 9 against the Rockies, his previous high.
Yeah, we seemed like he had some 10 RBI games against the Cardinals, literally in games against the Cardinals. I mean, he was just a hitting machine, wasn't he?
Yeah, he really was. He just tore up the Cardinal pitching staff.
You know what always amazed me about Berkman when he was with the Astros? It seemed like he was always up.
Yeah. In a key spot.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, you know, you're watching a game and it's like, oh, Berkman's on deck. Here he is again. It's like, what, are they batting him 3rd, 4th, and 7th? I mean, just always at the plate. And he delivered more often than not.
Part of some really good teams with Houston. Miranda, the hitter, had a pinch hit home run last night. 1 ball, 1 strike. He's part of the Killer Bees for a while, where you had Biggio and Bagwell, and then you had Tejada, Carlos Lee, and Berkman in the middle of that lineup. They added Hunter Pence. I wonder what kind of satisfaction he gets personally, too, knowing that he's put up some pretty good numbers here early on, and there's some doubters out there, and in particular from the state of Texas.
Yeah, he doesn't impress me as a guy that would get overly worried about anything, first of all. I mean, but I think some players seem to be more bent on just proving people wrong, and other players just kind of say, you know what, I mean, whatever people say, it doesn't really make any difference to me one way or the other, because I'm just playing because I love to play, and if I get it done, I get it done, and people are going to have their opinions, and I don't really care. He impresses me as that kind of guy. It doesn't seem like he's out to prove somebody wrong as much as he is just out to play the game that he loves and play it at a high level. And I think he's had as many question marks about what he would do this season as other people have had.
2-2 the count. And a strikeout. That's 3 of 4 for Sanchez. That one on the breaking ball. Pretty impressive start here to his major league career.
Not just the high velocity on the fastball, but there's a good breaking ball to strike out Miranda. And a couple of tougher prospects here in Upton and Branyan. We'll see how he does against these guys.
You saw him with a face in the towel between innings. I wonder what was going through his mind when looked like maybe reflecting a little bit or concentrating on what lies ahead.
Could be his normal routine. Could be his way of focusing. And
could be his emotions, too.
Could be his emotions. You know he has those. And you don't want to show him while you're competing, but they're going to come out at some point for him, and he's not going to be able to sleep tonight.
Here's a 2-0 pitch. Little floater down the right field line and a fair ball. Upton on his way to second. Gives up his first major league hit. Jim Hayes, Al Raboski, Pat Barris all standing by. They've got the post-game show. Missouri Lottery Cardinals Live coming up next.
And a lot of good news to talk about in the post-game show tonight. A lot of Cardinal offense to break down.
You were pretty emotional about not being around Pat for this road trip.
I know. Well, you know, we miss each other. That's been good to me.
Branyan is 2 for 3. Always fun to head to LA and see the pristine Dodger Stadium. It's one of the oldest ballparks now in the major leagues.
A lot of history there. Great players.
Great pitching. Seems like they always have pitching, doesn't it?
You'd be hard pressed to think about Dodger clubs or eras where they didn't. Think about the era of Koufax and Drysdale, and then you think of Valenzuela and Hershiser, and now a new era of young pitchers, Billingsley and Kershaw.
You see both of those back to back, those pitchers, Saturday and Sunday. Kershaw, the lefty, on Saturday, and Sunday it's Chad Billingsley against Carpenter.
I'd be willing to bet we will see a very different Chris Carpenter on Sunday.
Yes. Carpenter even said after the game last night, he said it's just one of those days where things just didn't go right. You know, I feel good. I thought some of my pitches were better than maybe it looked. Two and two the count.
One of my favorite ways to analyze a performance I get from Tony La Russa. He says this not all the time, but every once in a while he'll say, you can analyze everything all you want, but in the end, you either did or you didn't. And I just love that statement because that's a fact. I mean, when it comes down to it is you can feel good, you can feel bad, you can be tired, you can be hungry, you can be sad, you can be whatever you want to be, but you either do or you don't.
How about this? He's doing it with the strikeout. That's 4 for Sanchez.
This time it's the high hard one. High. Siguiente day.
Two outs and a runner at second, and it's up to Young.
Didn't know you were going to get a Spanish lesson, did you, Dan?
I did not. A swing and a miss.
Big potential for a strikeout victim here at Chris Young. How would that be? 5 strikeouts in the debut in 2 innings?
One ball, one strike with 2 outs and a runner at second. Check swing, he did go. It's 1-2. One-two pitch to Chris Young.
He doesn't look nervous, does he?
Not at all. Helps when you get that first out, I would assume.
It does.
Relax.
Well, how he looks and how he feels may be different things.
2-2 pitch. And another strikeout for Sanchez. What a debut. Cardinals take 2 of 3. They win it 15-5. Berkman, huge night. A 10-run win, 15-5 for St. Louis. Post-game show coming up next.